Welcome back to Echo Ridge. Today, we have two primary objectives. Continuing to refine our giant geothermal power plant because, well, it's always having some sort of issues, and completely destroying the exact project that I built last episode. More on that in a little bit. First, a couple of notes about the geothermal power plant. You'll notice that down here, I've expanded the area around this geovent. And we're still getting some overpressures, but not as many as we were. You see here, the pressure is much less than 120 kilos, so this smaller area directly around the geovent is okay for the steam to sort of spread out. Furthermore, on this right-hand corner, since I started dumping all of the water, no matter what, we're down to about 85 kilos. But now on the left side, we're up to 118 kilos. Hence the reason why the steam just cannot spread out fast enough when the geovent is erupting. You'll also notice that I disconnected the far right geovent. That was to sort of help the situation down here. I'm going to reconnect it now though, which will hopefully alleviate some of the pressure from this one. Additionally, I think I'm just going to make this whole thing much bigger. I'm thinking this is the new floor of it. And we'll just continue on, maybe something like this. Now, everything down here is pretty hot, but, well, I have 18 steam turbines, so I don't want to hear any complaints from any of the dupes. So with that, I'm just going to go in here and destroy all of this, and we'll continue over here. I'm even going to get rid of these point of interest tiles, and whammo blammo, this should be good. And what this is going to give us is more room for the steam to expand, and a much larger area for the steam itself. I'm also going to be working on possibly simplifying some of the automation. For instance, I don't think I need 3 sets of Atmos sensors and 3 sets of thermo sensors, considering it's all one big room now. Also in the background, I've been cutting through all this. I got really tired of all that water melting and then falling down here. So what water is left that was not just straight up ice, we are pumping into the old garbage chute pipe. And yes, I had to use many bridges to get it over there. After the dupes finish this project, I'm going to give this probably a dozen or 2 dozen cycles to see how it's operating then before I continue. I'm also going to be putting all of these steam turbines into rooms, so that's going to be somewhat cumbersome because, well, we just never planned for them to be in power plants, or rather, we didn't pre-plan for them to be in power plants, so we're going to have to build rooms and make sure everything fits nice and normal. Now for our ice machine. As I end up picking up some water from obviously melted ice, the cooling loop is still slowly cooling down. We're down to about 22.5 degrees, and I would have been happy with this system. But as the comments were very quick to point out, Echo, why not just freeze the water directly? To which my reply is, oh yeah, that would have made a lot more sense. I think what happened is I was just so excited about playing with these ice makers that I failed to remember the simple thing that we've always done. Just freeze it. So once again, let's start deconstructing literally everything. Oh, and before I continue, there were a lot of comments asking why I didn't have the auto sweepers loading up water from a pitcher pump and then throwing it into a water maker. And it's because, well, I've never been able to get that to work. There were a lot of comments saying that it is possible though. So I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, or if it's just one of those old wives' tales, or if it's only some buildings that the auto sweeper can interact with the pitcher pump to deliver water in. I don't believe the ice maker is one of them. I have this on a priority of 1, and it's almost done here. And I put it on a priority 1, that way a duplicant does not get the task, or at least is much less likely to get the task. And here we go. Notice we now have 80 kilos of ice. This ice maker is now awaiting delivery for 60 kilos worth of water. Notice none of the dupes have the errands. The auto sweeper can clearly see the point of interest tile for the pitcher pump, which is right here. There's no other buttons I need to hit, like allow auto sweeper use. So I'm not exactly sure what the comments are all up in arms about, because I have never seen that work. And now some more fun deconstructing. Keeping in mind that we have a lot of digging to do in and around this colony, I figured we could use another digger. This Nicola starts with a +7 excavation and they get super hard digging for free. Now, they do have the disadvantage of being a loud sleeper, but that doesn't really matter, and I'll show you why here in a second. Welcome to the colony, duplicant number 18, Casey Star. Now, the biggest problem for Casey is the fact that, well, we don't have a spot for them to sit at a mess table. Ugh. I suppose I'm eventually going to have more dupes, right? Let's see, the food is right here. Bathrooms are here. What about this area right here? This looks kind of nice. I could fit 19, plus a phone and our wonderful mammoth patty. More if we wanted to squeeze them in this little hallway here. We do need to make sure Casey gets a warm coat because they're not having a good time. Here you go, Casey. Now, as far as Casey's snoring goes, the only thing we have to do is make sure that they're not sleeping next to somebody when it's their time to sleep. For instance, if they were to be sleeping right here, which they currently are, you'll notice in this quilt cot is Citrus Mod. Well, Casey's snoring is going to keep Citrus Mod up, but currently Casey's still sitting on shift 1 and no one else is there at that time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Chen Chen and assign them to shift 6. And now Casey can snore the night away. I went ahead and destroyed our old Great Hall now that our new Great Hall is complete, and I added both the dog collar and the mammoth patty. Doesn't this look nice? And it's big enough to fit 21, 28 duplicants? I suppose, though, I gotta replace all this with carpet. You only have 51 reed fiber. We're doing plenty good on food, up to almost 1.7 million calories worth of squash fries, so I think we can feed some of those bloom squashes to an extra mammoth here, and that way we can get a little bit of extra reed fiber. The last thing I wanted to show you and end up putting in the mess hall was our new ceiling trim. The Fancy Bug Ceiling Garland is one of the blueprints I unlocked this week. Now, just like the other ceiling trim, it's only +5 decor and a radius of 3 tiles, but it's gonna look so nice. Oop, not igneous rock, please. We want to make it out of granite. That'll turn the +5 decor into +6. There we go, doesn't that look nice? And no, they aren't real shine bugs. I'm also clearing out this area here, which is kind of funny. These mammoths have been in here for quite some time, and there is a lot of mammoth patties. This is 900 kilos worth of mammoth patty. Here's over a ton of mammoth patty. And while just saying the words mammoth patty doesn't really give it justice to the fact that this is quite literally a ton of not necessarily just a patty. But I wanted all this room here because I'm going to need another thermal aquatuner and another cooling loop, except I don't really want to build a whole nother thermal aquatuner and steam turbine setup. Plus, I don't mind when we're generating heat in here, so I might as well. And the reason why I'm going to need another thermal aquatuner is because of what I'm going to ask it to do next won't be able to be done by this one loop. Because the whole idea is I'm going to be freezing water, and if I have that cooling loop set to the same as this one, A, I don't think just one thermal aquatuner would be able to do it, but B, we'd end up freezing this water. And right now, it's set at 5 degrees. Our next pod has 3 frost-proof dupes, so I want to take advantage of that and make sure we end up printing one of these. I'm kind of eyeballing this bubbles, but we already have 5 ranchers. That seems somewhat excessive. Even though ranching and farming is a heavy duplicant cost, I don't know if we need another one. In fact, looking at it, yeah, we can definitely use another digger, maybe another decorator, probably another researcher. So with that in mind, let's go take another look at the pod. Ooh, how many cooks do we have? Oh, this is an easy pick. We only have 1 current cook, and this Joshua here can even do some digging when they're not cooking. Welcome to the colony, duplicant number 19, the Ghost Ritter. Okay, some slight mistakes were made. I didn't realize this was so hot in here. I knew this area was hot because that is a volcano sitting in it. That must have been just one of those hot spots. Something like this. Oh, well, this is ridiculous. It'll calm down in a second. I'm also going to stop dumping this into the vacuum space. That way, all those hot rocks, wherever they're coming from, can fall into this water and cool off a little bit until such time I can transport them around the colony. Speaking of which, all of this has been dug out and fixed. but we have a lot of this material here. And I'm going to do just like we did last time and load up this area so this auto sweeper can pick it all up. And once it's complete, I'll put this one on a priority 9, sweep only, and just say everything. Here we go. That's looking a lot better. It's funny how just a little bit of digging can really make a colony look and play much better. Now I've got so much room for activities, and that is exactly what we need because I'm going to put another thermal aquatuner right here. In the interest of getting rid of some pipes, I will now start pumping all of this again. And the long and short of it is this thermal aquatuner here is going to be responsible for keeping this cool, and that's it. Now we already have a cooling loop here. Granted, it's going to need a lot more coolant, but I don't see why the 2 lines can't come down like this. I know, it's more spaghetti, okay? Just deal with it for now. I'm gonna have to put the bridge below this thermal aquatuner just in the interest of avoiding some spaghetti. It still works and operates the exact same way. Into the input of the bridge. Out of the thermal aquatuner, into the output of the bridge. And then this one's gonna come out. And now all we have to do is link these 2 lines right here. And we'll just add some more bridges. Because this is the way. Now this first pipe is the return. So I'm going to need this line here to come down here. Which means this one is going to be where the coolant is coming out. And this would be a lot easier if I just did it right here in the middle. And I think it'd look a little cleaner. So this is what we're going to do. And it'll eventually even look cleaner. We're making gains here, folks. Making gains. It's coming together. I'm going to snip it here and then do like this. I'm probably going to have to change some of these bridges around, but its only loop will be right here, which means I need to connect them down through here. This line is not really important, so I can join them up like this. I don't want that little packet of brine or whatever that is in there, so we are going to plumb that out. And just like that, we have a functional loop, although it's a smidge too full. So let me actually add a little bit more back to this original line. 2 packets should be plenty. There we go. Now this area will be independently cooled by this thermal aquatuner. And since it has so much less to do, it's really going to be able to drive down that temp. Now I had removed both of the liquid tepidizers, but only because I wanted to adjust where I'm putting them. Because I'm also going to have a liquid pump in here. But with that one cooling loop, we shouldn't have to worry about the water getting too cold here, especially with all that hot salt water coming in and the heat coming from the desalinators. The idea is somewhere I'm going to put a pump. Maybe I put the pump up here. There we go. Just shorten the loop a little bit more, and now I have plenty of room for this pipe. I am still going to use insulated, and it's going to come over here. And now it's time for the actual execution part of the Ice Maker V2. I really wish they would have made the nectar and the brine colors a little bit more different. It is very hard for me to see the difference, but I need to recombobulate this cooling loop because this cooling loop is going to be freezing our water. And it's only going to be doing it in a distance of about yay. And the plan is we're going to drop off water. It's eventually going to freeze. And when it does, our wonderful robo miner is going to take over. Maybe we should push it over here a little bit. Yes. And crush the ice. Once the ice has been broken up, we're going to use some auto sweepers to pick it up, just like we were before. Now I'm going to use a whole bunch of metal tiles here. I would like to use some aluminum. Yes, please. I was staring at this for about 10 minutes trying to figure out where this loop is coming and going from. And I realized a couple of things. This whole time it's been connected to a source of nectar, because I failed to clip it off last time. None of these trees have been getting emptied because, well, it's not connected either. And I decided I'm just gonna remove all of these pipes and basically start over. So here is the input, which is fine. And at least we can get this loop moving again because it's been pretty static for a while. Still cleaning up more piping, but it already looks a lot better-ish. But I'm moving everything around, getting rid of some of the excess bridges now that we don't have so many pipes going this way and that. Even changing some of the routes. That way it just looks a little bit cleaner. Now, obviously, this is really bad right here, so I'm going to also fix this. And this one's just going to come out over, and we'll end up inserting it there. Look, clean my plate. That looks a lot better. And now with this line sitting right here, I can start to refill this loop. I already have this thermal aquatuner set to -10. Might as well go a little bit colder. Let's say -20. After all, we have plenty of room. It does not freeze until -82.5. With the cooling loop chock full, we're adding the power now. So far, we got 4 auto sweepers and 2 robo miners. And of course, we also need a couple of conveyor loaders. I think this will be good right here. And both auto sweepers can hit it. And then we have our same rail and our same system that we were using before. The only thing that's really changed is how the ice is made. Ew, that's ugly. Let's do better. And since we are up here looking at it, I wanted to clarify some stuff that was being said in the comments, that these NOT gates were duplicative. They really aren't. The NOT gate here is connected to this bus line, which means any single storage bin could flip this whole bus to green, which we are then going to use to open and shut vents. This one, the only storage bin that can flip this NOT gate to green, there go opening and shutting this conveyor chute, is this one smart storage bin. Speaking of which, let's put our liquid vents in just like this. I'm going to separate all of this for now because I don't want that water to start flowing. I'm trying to decide if I want this main line to control these vents, and I don't think I do. While theoretically these two water/ice basins should be filling at the exact same time, in other words, they'll be at the exact same level, I don't want to take any chances. So what I think I'm going to do is use hydro sensors to control both of the liquid vents, and then use a liquid shutoff, say right here, when we don't want either one of them making any water. Something like that should work. And I think this system is done. Now right now these metal tiles are -24. So these first few water blobs are probably going to freeze almost instantly. But as more and more water gets stacked up here, it will heat these metal tiles up. And that's when this whole thing will start filling. And if it ever does create a solid tile, well, the robo miners will then crush it, and then the auto sweepers will grab it. We can see this metal tile is already down to -13. When we started, we were 10 degrees colder. But for now, we have the successful delivery of some ice, which is confusing me because they all look full. Oh, this one's not. This is the only reason they're running. Because of all that digging I did, we're up to 125 tons worth of ice. And now this storage bin's full, so the conveyor chute shuts, sends the automation signal down, stops the water flow, and voila, the metal tiles can now catch back up. I do need to make sure I set the hydro sensors. I'm going to say it can accept water as long as it's below, say, 950 kilos, because above 1,000 is when it'll start spilling over. And we'll set both of them. Man, this system is so much cleaner and so much simpler than the last one. I mean, we even still got to use the bottom part, which is where the salt water and brine are coming in. I'm starting to build up the rooms, and I'm starting to suspect something. Remember we were down to 84 kilos? Well, now we're up to 104. And it's pretty even across the entire geothermal plant now that we've sort of flattened it out. Meanwhile, if we check out these liquid shutoffs, you can see they have not been running. 0% for all 3 of them. So I'm starting to think that the geothermal heat pump is actually a water positive event. I'm going to be doing some testing in the background because I really want to learn the numbers behind that. But if you have any information, let me know in the comments below. With that project sort of wrapped up, it was time for me to turn attention to our wonderful steam turbines. The first 2 sets were pretty easy because the rooms were small enough. This one because I made it 3 tiles high. This one because it's only 3 steam turbines. This one is giving me a little bit more problems because I don't have enough room here for all the stuff I need. I suppose I will be able to actually drop the ceiling here, even though it's going to look not great, but there's no gap here. So I'd have to get rid of an entire steam turbine, which I'm not excited to do, because then I gotta play with the plumbing and etc, etc, etc. Okay, I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna let you know, I'm not happy about it. I cannot believe I'm going through this process. How did you get stuck? Oh, there's an automation wire. It's okay, it's only minor changes. How am I gonna get that pipe over here? I suppose like this. Ooh, step 1. The steam exhaust is in. Step 2, the automation, not too shabby there. Look, don't judge me. You weren't supposed to see the automation here. Remember, this was a project that I was gonna get to as well. But like I've always said, you do things in stages. Otherwise, you're gonna end up messing everything up. So here's the 5th, which means I can get rid of this one. Yeah, 96 only comes out to about here, and ours has to go all the way out here. So once again, we will be doing this number here. And no, I'm not moving these. You can't make me. They're staying right there. They're just going to be a little awkward for a little while. All right, I'll move them down. Okay, there, it's done. It doesn't look the greatest, I know, but we have 4 working power plants. And that's sort of worth every single steam turbine giving us 1275 watts. Remember with the power control station, you can select what type of refined metal you'd like to make the little microchips. And then the microchips are then applied to the steam turbine in a process called the NG's tune-up. Now if we click on a steam turbine, we can see the length of time that the NG's tune-up will last. In this case, it's 3.6 cycles. Duplicants are required to have electrical engineering. So if we take a look at one of our earlier dupes, say Mikey Sheep, they have a machinery of 26, which means their NG's tune-up effect duration is increased by 65%. Which is wonderful because that means the duplicants don't have to spend as much time doing it. Last little update over here, I think we may have gone too far. I only say that because now that we have a single thermal aquatuner cooling this entire pool, well, it's now sitting at 3 degrees. So it's already pretty cold before it even comes down to these metal tiles. So it's going to be a long time until I believe we're going to be able to see how much throughput this system here can do. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode and the redesign of the Ice Factory Mark II. I'm starting to try to figure out what kind of projects I want to do next, especially considering we have more power than we'll ever be able to use. Well, never say never, but you know what I'm talking about. So if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments below. So until next time, much love, happy gaming, I'll talk to you soon.